Maria Archila. She is one of the women who confronted Senator Jeff Flake in that now infamous elevator video. Anna, thank you for being with us. And let me just get your reaction here. Jeff Flake moving forward for a final vote on Judge Brett Kavanaugh. But still some questions potentially about whether he'll change his mind for the final vote tomorrow.
He has a tremendous opportunity to demonstrate that men have a role in helping change the culture that allows sexual violence to be so prevalent. The experience of Dr. Ford is not hers alone. Thousands and thousands and thousands of women are telling their stories to allow the country to look at us, to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, is this who we want to be? He has an opportunity to say, no, this is not who we want to be.
What kind of pressure will Jeff Flake face over the next 24 hours, given that last week, if you flash back to the end of last week, Jeff Flake announced he was going to be a yes vote on Judge Brett Kavanaugh, walked into that Judiciary Committee hearing, but before he got there, was stopped by you.
That's right.
And somebody else that you know, who shared your very personal story of sexual assault.
Yes, he's going to. There are hundreds of people today in the Senate building trying to have conversations with senators. We think it is fundamental that they remember that this is not just about Brett Kavanaugh. This is about our democracy working for people. The lesson that I want to draw from the moment in that elevator is that when we force human connections with elected officials who almost never practice listening to us, we can actually help them make better decisions. The decision that Senator Flake made on Friday was better for the country. He said the country needs an investigation. And now he has an opportunity to yet again listen to that way of govern by listening.
The president talked about these protesters and seemed to allude, frankly, Anna, to you this morning in a tweet. He said the very rude elevator screamers are paid professionals only looking to make senators look bad. He said also, look at all of the professionally made identical signs paid for by Soros and others. These are not signs made in the basement from love. Are you a paid professional?
I work for a community organization. I work for a network of community organizations. I've spent my entire adult life building spaces where regular people can collectively act so that politicians listen to us. That's my job. I showed up to the Capitol with hundreds of people that my organization and other organizations brought so that we could tell our stories. But when I was talking to Senator Flake in that moment, I was a woman, I was a mother, I was a survivor, and I was someone who believes that we can connect and through those connections make better decisions for each other.
I want you to elaborate on that because prior to the president's tweet this morning, there were some articles, some news pieces on Fox, elsewhere, places we know he watches, talking about this moment, saying in both of these instances, they were seemingly organic, powerful protests, but in both instances, the women involved came from a nonprofit called Center for Popular Democracy that has received funding from liberal billionaire George Soros. Records show, they mention you, Maria Archila, who confronted Flake, is the group's co-executive director. Perhaps that is where the president is trying to draw this link?
If the president wants to know whether I work for a social justice organization, the answer is yes. And I've worked for a social justice organization since I was 23. That's not news. Come on. What is news is that women across the country are doing something that's really powerful. We're sharing our stories. It took me 30 years, and I've been doing social justice work for the last 20. It took me 30 years to tell my story. And I did it because I think we have an opportunity to be better.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.